Hey, what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so it's the day after the Lakers were sold to Mr. Walter and his investment group, and I believe I have a little more information and a little more commentary to share. So it's been reported that the Lakers were sold for $10 billion. I'm pretty sure everybody knows that at this point, and I'm excited for the Buss family. I'm excited for our Los Angeles Lakers as well, because we're bringing in the Walter group, and from what I'm seeing, they are able to spend a lot more than Jeanie was able to improve our squad. They're going to be much less bound by the restrictions in place. They can go over the tax if they want to, and it ain't going to hurt their pockets to do so. So we're going to be in the game, man. We're likely going to see more emphasis placed on player development, more emphasis placed on the structure, the overall structure of the basketball team and the functionality of basketball team. It's going to be corporate run. Now, that could have some negative effects to what we're used to, but it's a bit more modern to what it is the other teams are doing out there. And we should be able to close the gap on some of them teams over the next several years as we have this type of money behind us. Now, from what I understand, there are a lot of different factors that went into the group. The $10 billion may not necessarily have been $10 billion out of Mr. Walter's pockets, because he does have other investors. My understanding, loose understanding, is that some of his investors are from Abu Dhabi. In fact, a good portion of those invested dollars come from a fundraising effort that came very recently, as I take this information from ESPN as it was provided to us. Fundraising, it's not really the right word, but capital raising, I guess, effort that was made several months ago that totaled to the exact amount that's been reported to us, $10 billion. So it's an interesting situation that we're entering into this era now, because it's a corporate run organization. It's not a family run organization. So some of the values of the team change. Some of the ideas about just how we should do certain things does change now that we have new ownership. Now, of course, I believe the Buss family has retained 15% of the Lakers, so they are still in the Laker business. In fact, they kind of switched spots, because from what I understand, Walter owned the percentage that Jeanie now owns over the last several years. So that's a good thing about this Walter transition, is that he's already been in place. So he's not coming in looking to do like the Suns did, or like the Brooklyn Nets did, and just blow everything up, thinking that things are possible that are not possible. This person's been in place, knowing how the NBA collective bargaining circumstance just switched in the last collective bargaining agreement. He was in place for the changes that have been implemented. So he understands where it was, and he understands where it's going, or where it is right now, and may, with his capital, have some influence on where this is headed, which is also very interesting as well when you consider it. So, like I said, these are good times. Magic Johnson seems to be inspired greatly by this. Of course, he's been in business with Mr. Walter with the Dodgers, and they've had great success. So we already know that Magic Johnson already has an investment experience with this person, and has seen great success with this person. And I'm listening to a lot of the commentators, and they share the same idea, that Walter and his group are intentional on acquiring sports teams and modernizing them, raising their value up tremendously with significant investment money into these organizations. They've done it with the Sparks as well, and several other sports groups or teams as well around the globe. So they're not new to this, and they've been very successful in this. And so it seems like we just hit the lotto as Laker fans. Jeanie sold the Lakers to somebody who could really help get us into a space where we're winning championships again. And so that is what I can honestly say. I think Mr. Walter, from what I understand, it came out to like 6.6 is what was forked over. I don't know exactly how that ranges out, but I've heard a lot of different figures that are under $10 billion that ultimately told the story about how much money is being transferred. From what I understand, they've been working on this for over a year, so this is not something reactionary as I predicted it was. That these negotiations actually been going on for a while now. And it made sense, when LeBron James is in place alone with the Laker brand together, it would value it at record spaces. You know what I mean? Luka Doncic just secures the fact that you will be able to continue staying valued that high past LeBron's tenure. But really, when you get LeBron James in place and win a championship, do you start understanding that you could sell this thing for record-breaking money? So that's not too surprising that she saw it fit to maybe start selling it well before the Luka trade. And it was what I was pretty much saying it was. I think the cost of doing business was going to cost a little more than maybe the Buss family would have preferred. When you see what the Celtics just went for in their sale last year, $6 billion, which was the record at the time, you felt very confident that the Lakers are more valuable in the marketplace. And, this also inspires the NBA, from what I've been hearing, to expand this type of valuation on two basketball teams to consecutively makes expansion significantly more likely for the NBA owners to sign off on, for which they already look like they were going to sign off on. But this is something that zeroes in on just exactly how expensive the average basketball team can be valued at going forward, with inflation also to be taken into account. So this is something that I think is going to have us not only expand probably to 2 teams, but over the next 20 years, probably to 4 teams, in my humble opinion, though I haven't heard anything about that. But I do think they'll say, yo, we don't need to just expand to 2. We probably need to expand to 4. And so I don't know if that'll stretch the teams out a little too thin. And I think that's what the NBA ran into back in the day when there was 32 teams, that they tend to have some really bad teams out there because of the presence of just too many teams. But I do think there's more talent out there to choose from. And I do think as we go forward, there are going to be opportunities for some really high-level overseas talent to find roles in the NBA. So I think it could work out overall if they expand. So, these are the type of talking points that I've been listening to. And now we just look forward to seeing what the Walter vision is for this franchise. And, I think my level of concern is better like a 1, if that, 1%. Like, I'm more so excited about the idea of the Lakers having more money to spend. At the end of the day, though we were making a lot of money as an organization, we weren't very liquid when it came to investing in the team. This group is significantly more capable of being able to pour money into different situations, to where even if we find ourselves in some quote-unquote trouble, there ain't nothing for them to be able to invest in the resetting of that process. It will take time, but you're not as beholden to making sure that your next move is your best move when you have this type of money in place. And I'm also encouraged by the fact that we have seen some organizations make some significantly poor decisions. So it's likely that this organization, having done things the right way in other leagues, will be much more wise as to make good decisions that follow within the guidelines of what is possible, as to put us in a position to have sustainable, good, entertaining basketball. Because you don't want bad money. You don't want big money coming in doing bad stuff that's going to take a long time to overcome. Like the Phoenix Suns, they're the template for what's not to do. And even now, if I pay attention to the Phoenix Suns, it seems like they're still making decisions that don't quite make much sense to me. Things that they want to do doesn't look like it's going to help their situation the way that it should be helped. But they do have the capital. It's just about how long it's going to take for them to overcome these mistakes. And because they've been in place making all these dang mistakes, one has to think that a successful owner is going to not make those same mistakes or not even be tempted to. And so that's what I'm hopeful is the case. Walter coming in from baseball doesn't have a salary cap. So what's possible in baseball isn't necessarily possible in the NBA. But just the same, there are things that the Lakers need to invest in other than the talent that you can throw a lot of money in. Like a president, for example, and scouting department, and facilities, and recovery equipment, and technology that makes the players comfortable. And there's a lot of things that Jeanie Buss may have been hesitant to invest in and pour money into, that the Walter Corporation is going to be thrilled to throw money into, just to keep the Laker brand as the top tier brand in the NBA. So this is an extraordinary opportunity for our Lakers. I think I find myself, if I'm worried about anything, that little 1%, it's not what's about to happen during the Walter tenure, but what the Walter Corporation is going to be willing to do when it's time for them to sell the team whenever that happens. That's what I wonder. Who are they willing to sell it to? Because now we're out of the good graces of the Buss family that quote unquote loves the team. They were going to make sure they put good ownership in place. Corporations, they're going to sell it to the highest bidder. They may sell your team to some pigs if they got enough money. And that's what I would worry about. Like, when they're done with this team, what's going to be their intentions with it? Are they going to be prejudiced to who they sell it to? Or are they going to sell it to anybody who has the money? And if that's the case, we could have bad ownership then. And with Jeanie being in place, I felt like she loved the organization, personal, emotional investment with the organization that made me feel so confident that she would do this, which is sell it to the right person. So this is what it becomes a situation where it's like, yo, who's picking up your team? They don't love your team. And that's what's going to be missing, I think. Because this is a corporate conversation now. Corporation loves money. Corporation loves growth, sustainable growth, but it ain't emotional to nothing. They don't care about much of nothing. So that's the reality of that. Who knows what happens to our team in the future because of that? But for the short term, based on what we need to do to build ourselves up, this is kind of what I believe needed to happen. It's what needed to happen. This is the only way we're going to get into a space where we look like we had a nice future in this short-term to mid-term era over the next 15 years, so to speak. This is the way that it looked like you could build up something that could really compete sustainably year in, year out. And so that's what it's all about. If you're the Lakers, we got 17 championships. You can't keep having losing seasons. It starts to eat away at the lure. And based on how the cost of business was going up and Jeanie was not able to really meet those requirements without putting her wealth at risk, it just became too expensive to be able to keep up with these super billionaires. So I think when it really comes down to it, the group behind Walter is crazy wealthy. Like, he's wealthy, $6 billion what he's worth. But from what I understand, the Guggenheim Group and the Abu Dhabi guys, them dudes up there in like $349 billion. They way up, like they crazy way up. So it's a different financial backing just having Walter's group in place. Because then you start talking about Middle Eastern money and like just like crazy off into the space type money that the Lakers now have behind them. So that's really what's going on here. That's exactly what's going on here. They bought the Dodgers for $5 billion, turned them into a super champion with the best players in the world, and that bought the Lakers for $10 billion several years later. And we see what their intentions are when they have that much of an investment in something. They're gonna go crazy. They're gonna spend like they're supposed to. And so this is gonna be a world that we're not used to, Laker fans. The things that are gonna be possible going forward could potentially really change everything. And I'd like to think for the better, I think in more scenarios than not, I see the better. There could be some bad, could be for the worse, but you just don't see that necessarily coming based on just what's possible with so much capital. You know what I mean? So much capital, and the Lakers organization and the brand, which is already lapped the field in popularity. So that's, you know, I listened to something that was really interesting. The Laker TV money that the Lakers made in 1 week, I think I said in 1 week, I'm not sure if I got that right, but in a very short amount of time, made up the entire gains that the Memphis Grizzlies made in their TV money throughout the course of a season. So that tells you where we at before we get the type of money that just came in. And when somebody like that comes in, inheriting something like this, they're not going to be pulling no punches to keep that valuation higher, to provide that growth. They're going to pour everything into it because they know they can. So this Laker thing is about to go somewhere else. I'm just telling you right now. You thought the Lakers were popular before. Now that this type of money's coming in, they're going to take it to a whole nother level. Whole nother level. And I can't even imagine. Like I said, we didn't lap the field. But I think what's possible at this point, that the Lakers could potentially be the most famous sports team in the whole world. That's basically what this tells me. It just sold for a record amount. No team in the history of world sports, anywhere, including all soccer teams, have ever been sold for no $10 billion. This is the benchmark for world sports. And so if you're going to invest $10 billion in a team, where are you trying to take it? And the question is going to be quickly answered very soon. I know they're going to make some changes, man. And so what does this mean for the Knights of the Round Table? I don't think anything is going to change in the very short term, because I do believe that based on what we've seen, what they tend to do in these situations to keep from all hell breaking loose within the organizations and within the fan bases is to keep the old people in place for a season or two and then gracefully have them bow out after a while. That's what we've been seeing. You saw that with Mark Cuban. I think the same thing will happen with Jeanie Buss. The Walter family is officially in charge. Ain't nobody questioning that. But the face of the Lakers for the next year or so will still be Jeanie Buss, to keep everybody calm, keep everybody in place who has a job, not wigging out, and all these different things. It's for the show and for the bridge to usher the new owners in, make both parties comfortable with one another, and then after that amount of time, you start seeing changes implemented one at a time, I'd imagine. And then next thing you know, you're under the Walter thing. It's the whole Walter thing. And Jeanie just kind of fades off into the sunset. But I don't think anybody's going to be getting fired right away. I don't think they're going to fire Rob and all the scouts and all that this upcoming season. That's not how these type of things have worked, especially when everybody's on good terms. And I think that there are terms that are put in the sale of these organizations that solidify that nobody got to leave overnight. You know what I mean? So I think that's healthy business. I think that's healthy business, especially when you have such massive amounts of money being exchanged, when you have such massive amounts of changes that could be possible. You don't really want to implement overnight change that's so big, because it does have so many ramifications on different things that ultimately it's not really at its best. What if things fall through? What if the earth switches in certain ways to where now the American dollar is worth 3 times what it was? Now the sale doesn't make as much sense. There's a lot of things that can happen over a gradual amount of time over the course of a year that the average person ain't gonna think about. But if you're moving $10 billion, you need to already have a fail-safe for these type of things. So you don't want to get rid of all of yesterday's people overnight, and then something unprecedented happens, the deal falls through, and now everything's in limbo. It's a lot of different things that can go wrong, that it's in everybody's best interest to do gradual insertion of changes. Gradual insertions of changes is just wise. It's just wiser to handle your business that way. Why rush? I just bought this thing for $10 billion and I'm happy. I just sold this thing for $10 billion and I'm happy. Neither one of us want this thing to be bellied up in the transition phase. Let's do things slowly. Let's work this out. Let me get used to $10 billion coming out of my account. You get used to $10 billion going into yours. And everybody just stay as it was until we all get able to breathe a little bit. We all get through the honeymoon phase. We get through the transition phase. We learn what's possible, learn what's not. Figure out who the best is to bring in for changes. See who the best is to keep. All of these different things do not need to be done overnight with something so big as a sale like this. And so that's something I kind of inherently understand. I don't know that everybody does, but I do think that you will see this thing start to look a little more Walter around here sooner than later, if that makes any sense. I don't know if they're going to change the brand emblem or anything like that. I doubt they'll probably try to mess with the brand too much. But you're going to start seeing the new facilities probably going to get built. They're going to get the hell out of Staples Center. I don't think they're going to re-up on that. They're going to probably build a new building somewhere soon. Yeah, I'd see that coming. That's definitely coming. And yeah, these are the type of things that I just expect are going to happen. I don't know about Rob Pelinka. I doubt he'll be in place for much longer. I'm just being honest with you. I don't think so. You know, ain't going to be no Rambus and all that stuff yet. And all of that's over with. They probably going to hire a president. New facility, new everything, man. I see it all coming. So that's what I want to say to y'all. I do not think the Lakers are going to be in Staples Center for a long time. They're probably going to finish the lease, which is in there probably for another 10 years. So don't expect them to have a building right away. But I expect for them to announce probably within the next 3 years that they're going to break ground on a new building for the Lakers. It just comes with this. The Lakers owners want to own their own building because there's a lot of revenue that you leave on the table when you're leasing the building. You're bringing a lot of money to another company. And when you got whales like this that are competitive to the company that owns the Staples Center, it's not the same. I'm not trying to make them no type of money. I ain't trying to leave no money on the table for them. And when you're a whale like this, nah, you want your own building. That's kind of what Ballmer was going through. I'm not renewing a lease. I'm up, what, $270 billion? Why am I renewing a lease with a company that has as much money as me or less money than me? I'm not doing that. And leaving all that money on the table? No, I'm going to build my own building. And I have every reason to believe that Walter's going to want to build his own building. Every reason. Or when the lease is done, he buys Staples. Or what we call Crypto.com Arena. He just buy it. But I don't. It's a fairly new building when you consider buildings. It's under, what, 35 years old? It's definitely under 35 years old. So it's not like it needs to be renovated. And they didn't do a new building with the Dodgers because, of course, that's Dodger Stadium. And I'm not really sure about the owner situation or the leasing situation. I don't really know. It might be privately owned. But that's like more of a signature space, like the Great Western Forum used to be, and not outdated. So maybe they decide to buy it. It is, at this point, solidified as the Laker building. We won 5 championships there or whatever, 4 of them, whatever it was. But at the end of the day, I just think that you want to own the building. So if they're not going to buy Crypto.com Arena from AEG, they're going to want to build one somewhere in this city or in Carson or something like that. I see them doing something like that. So, yeah, man, we'll see what's possible. But that sale was $10 billion. That is the record. And now we see what Walter wants to do, man. Now we see what the real deal is with this new owner and what their vision is for this team. And the more new big money comes into the NBA, the more you start to wonder if they're all going to want to agree to a salary cap. Because a salary cap, in my opinion, is meant to keep parity amongst those who have $1.5 billion and those who have $36 billion and up. It becomes a situation where it's like you want to keep that space, that parity safe so that you don't have the big money doing what the Dodgers are doing what the Yankees are doing. But when everybody has over $36 billion, then it becomes a question of whether or not it's necessary to have a salary cap. So I think the influence with more and more of these team guys coming in with this big money is going to be, hey, man, let's get rid of the salary cap so we can build these super teams like the Dodgers, like the Yankees, like you see in soccer. You don't need a salary cap in the NBA if you're moving small money out. So that's something that I think is kind of coming around. I don't know if they're quite there yet, but with the Lakers now having big money, I can see the influence of that and the possibility of what a super team with like a Giannis and Wemby on the same team type thing could look like. They're probably going to want to get rid of that salary cap because boosting that Laker team with a super team takes you to a different stratosphere. And that's really what it's about. So, yeah, I don't think they're going to be getting rid of salary cap anytime soon. But I think the insertion of more of these oil money dudes in the ownership is going to make it so that they look around and say, man, it ain't no small money in here. Let's get rid of this cap, or let's bring it up to a space that's crazy, like real crazy. And you're going to start seeing players getting billion-dollar contracts. Yeah. You see what I'm talking about, man. It's going to get crazy soon. And so this is a good thing. Expansion is coming. And I think the interest to buying NBA teams is serious right now. I think most teams are going to go over $5 billion at this point. Even the Sacramento Kings probably go for over $5 billion at this point, because the market is crazy. And I do expect more teams are going to start selling just off the strength of these valuations, man. And they're going to start letting in bigger money. More oil dudes, more tech dudes. They're coming. So that's pretty much what I got to say, man. It's a new day in the NBA. BDL 44. I thank you all for watching, and I'm out.